Hello, welcome to Motion Time. Today is Basic Monday where I will teach you the basic things in Apple Motion. For today's topic, I'm gonna talk about the Keyframe editor. So let's start. Keyframe editor in Motion, where is it located? The Keyframe editor is located here on the left side or right side. If you click on this, show hide Keyframe editor, it will appear here on the bottom. For now, there's no keyframes in our shape, so let's add some keyframes. Let's close this for now. Let's add X and Y keyframe to our rectangle shape. Let's add X keyframe for our rectangle. Okay, now that we have our keyframe, let's click that again, toggle that again, show hide keyframe editor, and let's click this one to hide the video timeline because we will work only on the keyframe editor. Now we have the X position, or rather we have a keyframe for the X position for the rectangle. So this is the keyframe editor in Motion. So we have the first keyframe here and the last keyframe here on the 3-second mark. Sometimes when you make a keyframe, you will have something like this. You will have something like this, a linear keyframe. The most basic interpolation of a keyframe. To change that, you just need to highlight all of the keyframes, or you can just highlight one keyframe. For now, let's highlight all of the keyframes. You can either highlight or you can just Control A on your keyboard to highlight all the keyframes. Then just right click, then change the interpolation to Bezier if you want to use a Bezier. You can also change from ease in, ease out, or ease both. For this scenario, we'll use the interpolation Bezier because the Bezier, we can adjust the handles in a specific way we want. To adjust the handles of the keyframes, you just highlight one of the keyframes, then adjust this handle. You can also adjust the other side. And if you are lazy, you can just do Control A, then right click, then change to ease both. So this is the most common interpolation for a keyframe. So next, these are the things that is quite not used most of the time. So if you look at here on the left side on your keyframe editor, you will see that there's animated here. So if you click this one, there are different properties available. You have the position to retiming. So currently it's set to animated because we are animating the X position. If you change the animated to all, it will show all the parameters in the properties tab here. If you select modified, it will show what parameters you have changed, similar to the animated. So active position, we have, because we have the X position, then rotation until to retiming. So let's go back to animated. So animated is only the X position now. We have the X position. Okay. So next, if you notice, when you go to this side, there's an arrow available for you to click. If you click this, you will be presented to different options to do. So reset parameter is similar to resetting the position of the X, or it resets the X position of the layer you have animated, similar to what we have in here. Like, you can also delete this keyframe. Instead of just highlight and backspace, you can just select and delete. Next is interpolation, similar to what we did earlier. Highlight, then right click, interpolation. So next is if you click, next is before first keyframe. So, and after last keyframe. So after last keyframe, this is quite an interesting thing to use because currently we have constant. But if you select ping pong, it will generate keyframes for you. Currently we have after last keyframe ping pong. You will see that our animation will do a ping pong animation now because motion generated a set of keyframes for us already. So next, let's change that again. After last keyframe, repeat. As you can see, it repeats now. After the last keyframe, it will restart again from the first position, then do its animation. Okay, let's go back again. After last keyframe, progressive. So this one, first keyframe to last keyframe, is 600. Then what will happen? It will progressively increase from 600 to a greater value. Let's try to change the initial keyframe to a much smaller increment. So currently it's from negative 600 to 600. Let's change that to negative 600 to negative 500 to see the change. And also, let's change the distance of the two keyframes. For now, it's from 0 to 3 seconds. Let's make it at least 20 frames. Let's move this keyframe. Okay. So as you can see, if you use this after last keyframe, you can have a interesting animation in your motion file. What I usually use is the ping pong most of the time. So it is just like this. So next, let's look at the other options. So after last keyframe, we have this linear. So what we saw earlier. If you select after last keyframe linear, motion will generate keyframes for you continuously. Let's make a better look. Let's change the last keyframe to 0. And then you can see that motion already generated keyframes for you in a linear fashion way. Let's go back again to our last keyframe, which is 0. Then change again to our after last keyframe to constant. So constant is the default when you create 2 keyframes in motion. Now let's look at the other options available. If you click here, so we have interpolation. So earlier we used Bezier. So let's select that again. Interpolation, Bezier. This is what we made earlier. The Bezier, in this interpolation, you can create your custom speeds. Just like this. You can also do like this or like this. So it depends on you what kind of interpolation you want. After that, let's highlight again the keyframes. Then go to interpolation, then continuous. So for me, continuous is almost the same as is in, is out. There's not that much of a difference for me. Let's select it again and select the other options. So exponential, we have a different set of curve here. Then logarithmic, just like this. Let's return back to Bezier. So we have this Bezier. Then linear, what we saw earlier, like just a straight path. Now constant. Constant is a very interesting interpolation here in motion, because you can have that like stop motion effect, like from one point to another point immediately. For example, okay, just like this. Then let's make it much more visible. Let's change the second position to -200. Then let's add another keyframe. Okay, then let's add another one. Then another one. Then highlight those new keyframes, then select interpolation constant. You can see that the motion now of the rectangle is similar to like a stop motion. I sometimes use this constant effect to achieve some cool animations. Let's delete the other keyframes we have made. Then change back again to Bezier and adjust the handles a bit. Okay, then next, if we select this last keyframe, we can lock this so that it does not move at all. Next, you can also unlock to adjust it again. Let's go to the last keyframe and go to this side. If we click this after last keyframe, we can generate keyframes also. So this generate keyframes, I don't usually use this one because in my experience, I haven't had any moment where I need to generate keyframes. Let's reset that again after last keyframe. Then let's delete the 2 keyframes that have been generated. So this top 3 here, currently we are using this one, the edit keyframe tool. Beside that, we have the sketch keyframe tool. So this one, I rarely use this one because this one is something like a pre-form keyframe, I think. So for example, you can do something like this, which is quite interesting. Beside that is the transform keyframe tools, which I also don't use. So if you highlight all of the keyframes, you can adjust the position of the keyframe. You can also scale it a bit, just like this, which is really interesting. Really interesting. For now, we'll just use this edit keyframe tool. Let's just delete all those keyframes from earlier. So that's it using the keyframe editor in Motion. I hope that you learned something new in that lesson, or you find something very interesting, especially that after last keyframe and the constant interpolation in Motion. Thank you for your time and see you again next time. Peace.